Good afternoon from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Ross Johnson. It was a tale of two halves yesterday as the Titans fell to the Saints 34-26 after leading 20-10 at the half. Cam Ward went 21-40 for 251 yards and 2 touchdowns with an 88.3 passer rating. Chigga Okonkwo and Alec Iomanner had the Titans 2 scores, while also having another big game from Jeffrey Simmons, who reached double-digit sacks in 2025 yesterday, marking the first time he's done so in a season during his career. The NFL's 2 winning-it-in games are set, starting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who host the Carolina Panthers on Saturday at 3:30 Central. The winner of that game will take home the NFC South title and a playoff berth. And on the flip side, in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers host the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday for Sunday Night Football. The winner of that game will take home the AFC North title and a playoff berth. The Steelers will still be without DK Metcalf in this game, and the Ravens are unsure about the status of Lamar Jackson. Lastly, the Tennessee Volunteers play their final football game of the 2025 season tomorrow in Nashville as they take on Illinois in the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl, with kickoff set for 4:30 Central in Nissan Stadium. You can listen to Vol Network's coverage of the game tomorrow right here on The Zone after Cover 2. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news and watch on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Blaine, still on the little holiday vacation? If you need to get your fix of Blaine. You can hear Blaine on yesterday's Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff, but he is off for the next few days, and it's just me this week. Now, I got producer Ross behind the glass. The last time I was on air solo was Wednesday. You were not on the air, and I've gotten universal praise from people over the Jeremiah Love episode. That's what we're going to coin it, with Joseph. And I have had a lot of people say, hey, you've convinced me Jeremiah Love should be the pick for the Tennessee Titans, depending on how the draft falls.
I thought you were going to say something like, you don't need me back, you just want Joseph back. But
no,
that's good.
No, I'm just saying you have big shoes to fill. I mean, like, okay, you're riding solo with me today, so he was involved, he was engaged. I convinced him on Jeremiah Love. We got to make sure that we're bringing the people the best show that we can, and because we have to carry the burden because Blaine's not here.
I know, and Blaine brings all the energy on Mondays.
He brings
after
all
games.
The energy. I mean, he brings the X's and O's insight and all that kind of stuff. We got a lot of responsibility on our shoulders, and I just want you to know that it was a pretty good episode Wednesday. A lot of people reached out to me. I never get a lot of people reach out to me, so
that's good. I wouldn't mind seeing Jeremiah Love in two-tone blue at all next year. I'm curious, does that mean you want Tony Pollard to be let go, or what is the situation?
I mean,
with
it's going to have to be the situation. Not that I, greatly desire it or anything, but I just do want to say this, and this was not brought up on the show last Wednesday. But last year, this was brought to my attention, last year was 30 years since Steve McNair was drafted by the Tennessee Titans. This year would be 30 years, or 2026 draft would be 30 years since Eddie George got drafted by the Tennessee Titans. So 30 years, Cam Ward, then Jeremiah Love, maybe duplicate some success that the Tennessee Titans had.
I like that. I would like that backfield. Be pretty nice.
I mean, it would be pretty nice. I mean, just saying. I'm not too concerned about Jeremiah Love's injury history. I hear Bustin' Diamonds on the chat asking about that. Don't think it's as extensive. If you're a Jordan Tyson fan, you can't bring up Jeremiah Love's injury history because it is nowhere near as bad as Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson's injury history is like Chris Jericho reading the 1001 submission holds on WCW. So, got to make sure you got to make sure if you're going to come put a negative on my prospect that your preferred prospect doesn't have the worst negatives. Just saying. All right, today we got a lot to talk about. The Tennessee Titans kind of reverted back to some old habits, some things that did not work for them previously, and it didn't work for them in the second half. I think that there's a lot of talk about wide receiver separation because it was bad yesterday, but is it bad as a whole season? No, not exactly. We'll talk about that a lot, what the real issue at wide receiver is and not what a fake issue is at wide receiver. We're also going to talk about Marcus Freeman, maybe a little bit more about some of the head coaches, but mainly I want to keep it Titan specific today. And I want to start with the Marcus Freeman news. Who could have saw that coming, that he was going to stay at Notre Dame? It was so obvious that the stuff being leaked by the national media was leverage for him to get a better, bigger contract at Notre Dame. Because, can I also say something? I get why people want Marcus Freeman in a vacuum, but what about his staff? Like, have you all even taken into any consideration of the staff that Marcus Freeman can bring in? Who's the offensive coordinator? Who's the defensive coordinator? Are they ready for the NFL? And we can count how many times a head coach has become started out as a college coach, became a head coach, and made that transition and were instantly and ultra successful on one hand. And I'm not trying to dismiss the job that Marcus Freeman has done at Notre Dame or anything like that. But we also have to kind of remember that Marcus Freeman has just been a head coach at the college level since 2021. And he's been very successful as a head coach. But at the same time, it's all about building a staff when you're talking about Marcus Freeman. And I think that if you're going to take a chance on any head coach in the college ranks, I would take a chance on Marcus Freeman. I would take a chance on Marcus Freeman over Lane Kiffin, over Dan Lanning. That's who I would take a chance on. But again, I wouldn't take a chance on a college head coach. What are your thoughts on Marcus Freeman?
I kind of 50-50 because I wanted to see what it would look like in the National Football League. I just think it would be fun with New York being such a
Do you want it to be fun with the Tennessee Titans, though?
No, like it was an exciting name at the start, but no, that's not who I would want. I think it would be fun to see him in the New York market trying to resurrect the Giants who, you know, them and the Jets seem to just not have any clear direction of where they're going in the future necessarily. But yeah, it was interesting to see like when all that stuff started getting put out there. I think our first thought was all like, is this agent? Is this media? Does someone actually know something? Is he wanting this to be put out? Like, what's going on here? So it was, I was like you, I'm not very surprised by him going back to Notre Dame, but I did kind of want to see what that would look like in the NFL.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to me because I think it was the Tuesday show last week where the reports were that the Titans showed interest in Marcus Freeman, and we're all like, well, duh, any of us could have reported that. We could report that they've done research. That's what it was. They've done research on Marcus Freeman. Yeah, we can all report probably here in the market they have done research on 20 candidates.
I mean, they should do as much research as possible.
Right. But I think for the most part that this felt, the more that we kind of sat there and we said, why hasn't anybody interviewed Marcus Freeman? And when they had the chance and opportunity to do so, especially after they announced they weren't going to be in a bowl game, like what are you guys waiting on if you really want to interview him? That's when you kind of knew this was probably a lot of this is his agent driving the conversation to either keep him relevant in the NFL coaching search while doing a negotiation with Notre Dame. And he ended up getting what he wanted from Notre Dame because he's going to be there for at least 2026. Now we'll see how his market looks later on down the road, you know, after this year. But I'm not really too concerned that that Marcus Freeman is now technically out of the head coaching search. Now, I say technically because I guess that maybe assumptively, because I don't know really what does the buyout now cost to get Marcus Freeman out. Will you still interview Marcus Freeman? Is you just interviewing him to figure out who he is, maybe for other purposes? Is he just taking the interview for future purposes of his own? But I would have to say that probably it's going to be a pretty big buyout. So I'm not really tore up as some people are. And there was a lot of people that were like fully gung-ho. Marcus Freeman is the guy the Titans should hire. And I'm thinking, but why? Like, who is his staff? Because when you hire these guys, if they're not an offensive head coach, you have to wonder what is going to be the offensive system that is going to maximize the talent you have. Not just Cam Ward, but the wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, the offensive line. And I don't know if Notre Dame, like when you really talk about Notre Dame and their offense, is that the offense you want to bring over? Because that's the offense you're likely going to have. I mean, it's just, to me, there was a lot of lingering questions out there for Marcus Freeman and what he could bring to the table in year 1, year 2, year 3. If we're talking like you're going to give Marcus Freeman a lot of leeway, then maybe I'd be a little bit more interested in. But even if they said they're going to give someone a lot of leeway, I think we've seen you can't trust what they say.
Well, and I just, I'll speak for myself on this because I kind of forget what you and Blaine have said, but I think we've all been on the same page to a degree with this. I remember after Callahan got fired, just personally wanting the Titans to go after a more veteran coach, partly because of how his tenure was and who he was, never had called plays or been a head coach, but also just more so the status of this team and it being led by a lot of young guys. And we've talked about weeks, the need for culture and the need for growth in the building with leadership and whatnot. I think it's hard to find that in a first-time head coach, especially somebody who's coming from the college ranks and, like you said, has not been a head coach in the college ranks for that long. So I'm not really tore up about this, and I wouldn't go back to interview him now at all. I don't see what the point is, but you never know what they'll do. I mean, an interview, I guess, it can't hurt anybody, just an interview, but I would not, try to force this to happen, I guess.
Yeah, I would say that they're probably not going to interview him, but, you got to leave that like 1%, out there. If I were a betting man, they're not going to interview him. And in fact, they may not have ever even were going to interview him. I would assume when it comes to this coaching search that because they got such a large head start on their research process, they're going to move fairly quickly through this hiring process because they're going to have a pretty whittled down list. I would say, let's say they started with 30 names, probably phase 1 of interviews is going to be 15 to 10 names. And then they're going to get to that, go through those interviews and get to their next interview fairly quickly because Senior Bowl is just right around the corner. I mean, you need to have, and listen, Brian Callahan was still building his staff during the Senior Bowl. I believe Denard Wilson and Tyke Tolbert were both announced when we were down at the Senior Bowl. But like, you want to move a little quickly because at this stage of the game, you also should have the ability to move quickly because you've gotten such a head start.
When you just want to have everything set up, to go through that entire offseason process with, combine, draft, free agency, Senior Bowl, whatever it may be, because that's extra stuff on your plate that is really big that you have to deal with if you don't have a coach hired at that point in time. You take that on top of all the scouting and everything you're looking at for next season for your team next year. It's too much to handle, I think. So I would like within a week or two after this Jacksonville game on Sunday, I would like, there to be a guy.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to at some point next week after the Jacksonville game kind of refresh everybody the timeline for coaching interviews because there's only, depending on like, you may not be able to interview Chris Shula until way later into the post. I know you can at some point in the postseason, but it may be 2 or 3 weeks. Like there are certain stipulations that you may have to be forced to wait around depending on who makes it to the Super Bowl, who's willing to take an interview while they're game planning for the playoffs and for the Super Bowl. So you may have to wait just a little bit, but I would assume like it will go fast and furious depending on who's in the Super Bowl. Because if the Rams are in the Super Bowl, the Packers are in the Super Bowl, like those, you may be waiting around till after the Super Bowl at the very latest.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think that could change who they potentially hire to any degree? Like if they're like, we don't want to risk the wait on Shula or Kubiak or whoever it may be, Sala, like we don't want to risk waiting on them that long and then maybe not wanting to do an interview in that process? Could it be somebody else because of that?
That would be, you can't hire out of fear.
No, I agree.
Because and I agree. I know you do, but like you just can't hire out of fear that someone else is going to take a guy. But I will say we don't even know how many jobs are actually going to be open. And I think everybody is going to kind of wait around unless it's someone like the Giants who maybe have two guys pretty high up on their list that they already are intimately familiar with. But if they already have those two guys high up on their list, one of those Lou Anarumo, the other one Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator and the Colts defensive coordinator, then they may not have to wait because maybe they're just going to go ahead and hire Lou Anarumo. And if that's the case, that's fine. Tennessee Titans, you dodged a bullet. That's where I'm at on Lou Anarumo. But I do think that once we kind of see who gets fired from all these jobs and how many job openings actually are, that may dictate. If you got like 8 job openings, maybe you can't wait and interview everybody or do a second round of interviews with everybody. Maybe you feel like you can't wait. Maybe other teams feel that way, and maybe you dodge a bullet of hiring out of fear or hiring out of panic. And because you displayed patience over panic, you get the guy that ultimately will be the best of the bunch.
Oh, I love that. Patience over panic.
We've heard that before, right? We've heard
we always live up to it, don't we?
Yeah, they always do. All right, coming up next, more of your phone calls, 615-737-1045. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, and Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
One of the largest sports books east of the Mississippi, Circa Sports Kentucky, is now open. Catch all your favorite games on an 80-foot screen with stadium-style seating and live VSiN broadcast daily. Circa Sports, now open at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
My dad and I used to golf together all the time, but when he hurt his back, it was over.
To have your son want to spend time with you is amazing. That's why my chronic back pain has been so heartbreaking. Surgery, fused bones, long recovery. No way, not for me. A friend recommended stem cells, so I gave Kellum Stem Cell Institute a call.
I'm glad you're out on the course.
Yeah, it's really good.
Call the Kellum Stem Cell Institute today. Swing still looks just okay though.
Selling your home can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. There are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Work with the #1 real estate team in the U.S. and close with confidence. Go to markspain.com today.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045, and broadcasting live from the 104.5 The Zone Circus Sports Studio. Kentucky's largest sports book can now be found at Circus Sports at Kentucky Downs. Let's take some of the phone calls that we got on the line. Let's go to Chuck in Clarksville. Chuck, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, Zach. Hey, couple things. Just on the wide receivers, I hope the next coach coming in, and I'm kind of leaning toward Nagy because of the Kansas City connection for Gonzi. But I would like to see more rub routes with Jim Dike, where they're rubbing him off people kind of like they did with Olave yesterday, and some more kind of with either Chigakonkwo or Gunnar Helm, do more of a Travis Kelce freelance tied in route where you go and find a spot. Go find a spot, get the ball, and then make yardage. I think Conquo would be great at that. I've said it for 2 or 3 years. Just doesn't seem like they want to do that with him, but he'd be great at that freelance tied in. So that, and like I said, I really think, you interview who you want. I just think Morgan's is going to go with Nagy because he's comfortable with him, and he's an offensive coach, and he can, I think he can, the second time around, can be good.
Hey, thank you, Chuck, for that. They asked us today for a little graphic. The 104.5 The Zone interns did. Like, who do you predict, to be the Titans head coach? And I said, well, make sure that whatever graphic you make, like, put an asterisk next to mine and say, this would not be my choice. This is just who I think it's going to be.
You've been saying it for months.
I've been saying it for months, and I'm still here. I think it's Matt Nagy. And I'll say this. I do think another year of Chim DK in the offseason, I think, is going to do wonders for him, because I do think him and Elikiah Manor, the timing on their routes is not quite there yet, and you'll be able to speak a little bit more than that. But I do like what he is talking about, is doing some more rub routes to get Chimere DK open. And I do think, because, again, we'll talk a little bit about separation later in a more, thorough discussion. But I do think offensive coordinators can scheme guys open and scheme guys and generate separation that way. And I do think Chim DK and Elikiah Manor have shown ability to do that. I mean, there was one Elikiah Manor was wide open deep, and Cam Ward didn't see them. And I think he even took a sack on that play yesterday. And let's not forget, the very first play to Elikiah Manor that was a throw, he had some good separation on that. And Cam Ward just flat out missed him. And there's some times where these guys get separation because of the scheme or because of ability or both. And Cam has missed them. Or he's gone somewhere else because it may be pressure restraints or something like that. So I do think that the scheme, we talked about it last night, we talked about it yesterday on Countdown to Kickoff as well, is there are 10 other players on any given play than Cam Ward that can also benefit from a scheme change. And that's why the offensive coordinator, offensive scheme of the next head coach is going to matter so much for these players, not just Cam Ward, but for the rest of these players.
Yeah, and I like what he was saying a lot about Chig and Gunnar Helm. Also, I'll just say this, after yesterday, I kind of already felt this way, but bring Chig back. Those two together, I think will be great for our offense next year. But I think a lot of the plays at the start of the season with Callahan calling plays, and even Bo at the start, like in the passing game, it's a lot of stuff that defenses were just letting stuff crossing stuff off. So guy breaks out, corner takes him, guy breaks in, linebacker, safety takes him. They're just passing stuff off left and right, and it made it hard for Cam to find guys open, get in a groove. Now they've developed, and Bo has started being able to find coverage beaters. Some of those on deep balls, like we saw yesterday. But I'm with you, this new coordinator, whoever it will be on offense, play call or whatever, the scheme is going to be very important because you could scheme guys open. Chim DK, guys like that, they're not the greatest route runners in the world. Even Elick, too. But Chim's got speed, and Elick has a great deep ball ability, in my opinion. So to be able to scheme these guys open, and obviously, like you said, another offseason of them working on route running, working on their timing with Cam in the new offense, I think will be very beneficial to the team.
Yeah, because a lot of this can be, earlier in the offseason felt like guys were not at the right spot at the right time. And now it feels like, okay, those guys are getting there, and that's why we're seeing these bigger plays, because the more reps that they have gotten, the more, I guess you could say, awareness of how a defense is covering them. They've been able to generate some bigger plays. I mean, 4 or 5 pass explosives yesterday. They had a few last week too. Like, we're seeing them kind of mature, both Chimere Dike and Elikiah Manor and Cam Ward, in real time. And I think that's going to go another step next year. It's just that how much maturing can those two players do to solidify themselves as mainstays on not just the Tennessee Titans roster, but like other rosters too, because sometimes we get too wrapped up in the world of the Tennessee Titans and say, well, Chimere Dike could be a number 2 wide receiver. Well, could he be a number 2 wide receiver for another team, or is it just the Tennessee Titans?
Well, the probability that you stay on one team your whole career is very low in the National Football League.
But like I think the Tennessee Titans fan base oftentimes overvalue a lot of their players. Like, is Chimere Dike a wide receiver 2 elsewhere? Could Elikiah Manor be considered a wide receiver 2 elsewhere, or would they quickly move on from both of them because they're 4th round receivers and they only got you 300 yards? Like, those are the questions you have to ask. I think Chimere Dike can be a wide receiver too, because he's already got the athletic ability, and if you can refine and work on the route running, we're good to go. And we've seen that he has a good rapport with Cam Ward. Elikiah Manor is a little bit more inconsistent in my eyes on all the phases of the game, and that's really what Cam Ward is needing. He's needing more reliability around him.
And honestly, I think the best connection he has with a rookie this year has been Gunnar Helm.
And they didn't hardly get him involved yesterday. Yeah. So let's just talk about that. That's a good jumping off point. I think the Tennessee Titans in the second half reverted to the old Tennessee Titans that we saw under Brian Callahan this year, that we saw at the first start of Mike McCoy this year, where they abandoned, all of a sudden for inexplicable reasons, abandon what was working these last 3 or 4 games. Because over the last month of football, the Tennessee Titans are tied with the Seattle Seahawks and Chicago Bears with the most points per game on offense.
Saw that. Made me feel good.
So, I mean, they've obviously were doing stuff that worked to make them a competitive football team. And in the second half, you know what they did? Screw 12 personnel. Let's just run a bunch of 11 personnel. 50 plays out of 68 offensive plays were in 11 personnel. Screw running the football. We're only up by 10 points. Let's not run the football anymore. And even when we run the football and see before our eyes that it's working with Tony Pollard, let's just not lean into that. Like, that's the stuff that kind of helped Cam Ward look as good as he did, and that's what helped him in the first half as well. Like, go watch the offensive play calling in the first half and the second half, and listen, I get it. The Saints came in with a pretty good defensive game plan, and they were winning one-on-one matchups with their defensive backs and the wide receivers. Well, if that's the case, then stick to the run game. Why are you overthinking it and airing it out when you really never needed to? And that, to me, was just a big sign that they reverted back. Look, the defense, Titans defense, attrition just caught up to them. You know, you can't blitz because you don't have anybody that can cover. And you can't cover because then nobody can get home because the Saints are doing a good job of blocking them as the game progressed. So it's just, there's not much you can do in that situation other than, like, I don't know, find a wizard somewhere that can magically heal some of the players that are on IR mid-game, like blood sacrifices, rituals, I don't know. But there's nothing you can do at that point if you're Denard Wilson. So as much as the defense didn't stop anybody, the offense didn't score. And I think I put that a lot on the coaching because I think that they went back to what wasn't working for about 13 weeks. And it's kind of crazy to me.
When you look at this game yesterday, just looking at the stats, and I know obviously we can see with our eyes, and that means more than numbers, but no reason for Cam Ward to throw the ball 40 times in that game. None at all. Tyler Shuck threw it 27 times. Obviously, he has better weapons, at least with Olave and probably Jawan Johnson than Cam does. He's also going against our defense, which is not as good as the Saints defense, but 27 passes for Shuck. They give it to Estime 14 times on the ground. Tony did get 18 carries, but a majority of that first half. And then, like you said, just way too pass heavy in the second half. And this team we were controlling the football in the first half for a long time. And there were some explosives in there too, obviously, but they were doing a great job of having explosives, but also controlling the football and just went away from it. And like you said, defense getting worn down. You've got to be able to, one, give these guys a breather, when they get off the field, and two, just establish drives and keep the Saints on their toes. When you go pass heavy, the Saints defense can almost just peel their ears back and get after the quarterback and drop into coverage. You're not really making them think about that much. So I think they just put too much on Cam yesterday probably to try to go out there and win this game, as opposed to just doing what they've been doing the past few weeks and really the past 7 quarters or 8 quarters before that. And it came back to bite them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It was just, it's one of those games where you're just they just went away from it. And I'm pulling it up right now. They ran from shotgun their highest amount over the last few weeks at 67%. That's the highest they've done in a long time from shotgun. And the majority of those came on their pass plays, 34 pass plays. Remember, he threw it 40 times plus 5 sacks, or 4 sacks, so 44 sacks. So 44 pass plays. Only 10 of those came from under center, when we're talking about a team that some of the best play action that they've had, some of the best plays that they've had over the last few weeks was from under center. So what are you doing when you're going from shotgun? First off, it's a lot easier for your linebacker, for the other team's linebackers to spot where the ball is going on play action fakes. It's still effective, but less effective out of shotgun. And then on top of that, you're kind of signaling that you're more than likely going to pass it anyway, because that's what this team has kind of shown it to be. So you remove all doubt from Brandon Staley, who I know Brandon Staley had a team quit on him in Los Angeles versus the Raiders. But Brandon Staley's no dum-dum. And I think that when you look at what happened in the first half and the second half, is that this team flat out got out-coached. Now, listen, defense still's got to make plays. They still got to tackle. There is no excuse for some of the missed tackles that we saw yesterday. But you look at what the Saints did. They only gave Audric Estime 2 carries in the first half. 2 carries for 6 yards. Second half, they went 12 carries for 88 yards. And remember, they were behind for most of the game.
Yeah.
They rededicated, and then you allowed it because of the defense missing tackles, because a lot of these guys will not be on this team next year because of, who the pedigree of player that they are. But they stuck to a game plan, and then their defense switched up a little bit of their game plan as well because it wasn't working in the first half. You got outcoached. There's no doubt about it. And I think that sucks, because I do think that what Mike McCoy, Bo Hardigree, and Denard Wilson have been able to do over the last few weeks has been pretty good, and I think it's paid dividends, and I think you can see that the players have bought in, for the most part, to what they're trying to do right now. But I think Cam Ward's comments after the game saying that they're looking, the best is yet to come, they know things are going to change next year, also lets you know that, hey, these guys, we know we can do better than these guys on the staff. And I know that's probably not how he really meant it, but that's how it's kind of taken.
Well, it's just the reality of the situation too, right? They're not going to be here. But it's tough because ever since that Jags game where we just got blown out, we got our bleep kicked in, we've been very competitive for the past month. That's 4 weeks of competitive football. It's like the Niners game where you lose, and it's tough still because we don't like to see them lose, and that there's stuff that they could have done to maybe have a different outcome. But I'm still happy that they're competing, especially considering the state of the roster on defense. Now you look at 34 points given up. That's not great. I thought the defense did fight It's not.
Right.
It's never been a lack of effort or fight with them, but those are just the games you want to see them win because they can and they should have won that game. But I'm not too disappointed still, just because of the continuing to show growth and compete in this last month of the season. That matters way more to me than a draft pick, quite honestly.
And I think you're correct on that because that does matter. Like, you don't want to see them take a step back, especially in the middle of a game. Like I feel like everybody reverted and took a step back in the second half. I think Cam Ward got a little flat-footed. I think some of the plays in the first half maybe had, and to his own point, said that he kind of went big play hunting. And I think you saw that in the game. Like, you could see that in real time that listen, I know guys aren't getting open, but there's also what fans believe should be open, and then there's also NFL open. Like, I mean, the idea that everybody's going to have 5-yard separation for Cam Ward to throw the ball is kind of crazy. But I think that there was a couple throws behind him, behind his receivers. The first half, the miss to Chimere DK, where it's just in the fingertips of Chimere DK, he's diving for it. That's a good play by Cam. Like, people could say that, like, well, Chim has to catch it or whatever. Cam Ward put it in the one spot where the defense and the coverage dictated he could put it, and he put it in there. It didn't get completed, but that's a good throw. And those throws usually go behind the receiver. And then in the second half, you see it with the Gunnar Helm pass, where it's like way behind Gunnar Helm, where if you put it in front of Gunnar Helm, plenty of space to do it, plenty of green behind him. And that's the stuff like everybody reverted, not just the staff. Cam Ward reverted. I think the offensive line, maybe because you were in pass protection so much that they look a lot worse than really what the tape should show or what the tape shows, but they do look worse. But they've looked so well because you established a run game. And I think it all starts there. They didn't establish the run game like they have and didn't stay with it and stay committed. And that's why you saw a lot of the offensive issues in the second half.
Well, you talk about going back to old habits. I was disappointed in Cam's pocket presence yesterday. I thought he had cleaned that up very well over the past few weeks. And I know it's great for the highlight tapes, TikTok edits and stuff. We saw it in college, the nonchalant. A couple plays in college, he's literally just standing there and just checks it down.
The staying flat-footed just
ain't
drives
working
me crazy.
In the NFL. It ain't working in the NFL, and he did it a few times yesterday. Now, when he's get out of the pocket, the play to David Martin Robinson on our side, that's okay because you're keeping guys guessing. And the D-line for the Saints, I think, was a little gassed on that play.
And he was trying to tell Gunnar Helm to move, and Gunnar Helm was like, I'll just continue running the route,
but that's him extending the play and still moving out of the pocket. When he is in the pocket, though, he had one, I think, in the first half. He checked it down to whoever was in a running back at that time, and they just got smoked. It's like, that's not working in the NFL. I'm not saying you need to be super rigid in the pocket and, like, perfect fundamentals, good base all the time, but that stuff's not working. I was just disappointed in seeing that, with him.
Him standing flat-footed, I think there was at least 2 or 3 of those where he stands flat-footed. I'm like, okay, Blaine has said it on our show a couple of times. I don't know which team it was or whatever that had this, but he talks about the air horn. Like after a certain time, they blow the air horn if you haven't thrown the ball.
Yeah.
Cam Ward needs that all summer. Someone needs an air horn in his head to know that I get that you're trying to big play hunt, but you either got to find a running lane or take your outlet. You got to. And listen, that's not to take away from, I thought it still was a good Cam Ward game.
It was, yeah.
It was a good Cam Ward game, but it could have been an even better game had he not kind of reverted back and also had the staff not kind of allowed him to revert back by not running the ball. I think things have been so much easier and so much clearer for Cam Ward when they run the ball because the defenses have to respect the run. And when the defenses have to respect the run, then that makes things easier on not just rookie quarterbacks. Every quarterback in the NFL is probably like, my best friend is a run game and an offensive line. Then we'll worry about the wide receivers later.
Yeah, and I think that's almost him too, Cam. I think that's almost him in his flow state, quote unquote. Like when he's feeling it, he's got it going. He can just revert back to those college habits a little bit because he is a very cool, calm, relaxed quarterback in the pocket, which is great. You want that. You don't want somebody that's panicky in the pocket that much. He showed, I mean, everyone has it at times, so we've seen it from him, but it's not who he is.
Yeah.
He's very calm and relaxed. I think when he gets in that flow state, though, he just reverts back to that stuff, and it's like, do the stuff that got you into flow state. Don't revert back to that stuff, because, again, that's not working. When you're standing just flat-footed and tall in the pocket, you can't go downfield with the football. You got no power behind you.
Oh, and it takes you a little bit to rev up if you choose to run.
Exactly. So it's just, be who you are. We all love you. That's why they drafted you, because of who you are. But understand, this is the National Football League.
Right.
And all the players you played in college, it's the best guys from those teams that are on these teams.
Yep. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk a little bit more about this game, because I do think there's an interesting conversation to have about Tyler Shuck's performance in the defense. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045.
Lots of Gruden talk today in the chat.
Well, I mean, one guy brings it up, and then we all, come on. Actually, two guys brought it up. But the fact that John Gruden is still getting brought up, and my favorite stuff is that they bring up something from 2002. Like, well, if he's such a bad coach, why did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers trade for him? And I'm thinking, dude, this is 2002. What are we talking about? We're talking about a guy that hasn't made the playoffs since 2007. The best part of his resume can order a beer over at Robert's Western World right now.
He could get into Broadway.
He could legally get into Broadway.
Hey, as someone who's in the content game from that aspect would love it. Yeah. Great content.
It would be great content.
Someone who's a fan of the Titans.
It would also be pretty terrible to watch. Because you know who one of John Gruden's mentees is, right?
Who?
Brian Callahan.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah. But, hey, at least he makes TikToks and all that kind of stuff.
Hey, well, Cam Ward would be getting coached tough. That's about all I can guarantee you.
Yeah. Did Gruden get any real consideration for even college jobs?
See, I don't know, because there's noise about people saying he will be a candidate or should be a candidate, but there's no actual noise from people like these teams are strongly considering him. Yeah. So it's I think this is all just he's out there. He's a public figure. Fans love him for the most part. So the name alone puts him in those conversations, although he might it doesn't seem like he actually is.
Right. I mean, I guess just my point is I don't want to get too much into John Gruden talk. But it would be just like hiring or keeping Mike McCoy, is that if you want to fail for the next couple of seasons and ruin everything that you're building towards, then sure, go ahead and sign John Gruden or keep Mike McCoy. They're about the same to me.
I think Gruden would be a little more aggressive.
I mean, to who? His players?
Every players, game situations, all of it.
But yeah, I mean, I would be even surprised and actually shocked if they even interview John Gruden. I don't even think they'll interview John Gruden.
Do you even think John Gruden wants to actually coach again? I think he's enjoying what he's doing. I mean,
wouldn't you be enjoying really what's going on? I mean, everybody loves you. Listen, it's always better to be wanted than to actually get what you want and then everybody turn on you. So why not just be the guy on TikTok, on Barstool, on YouTube, making the videos, and every fan base has that select few people that are just oh, this guy obviously knows what he's talking about because he's making videos. And this guy is John Gruden has to adapt to today's games. That's been his issue. He has to adapt to today's players. And I look at him I would much rather be in John Gruden's shoes where I have no real chance of being fired in a year or two because everybody loves you so much and loves your content than having to go back to college coaching or back to head coaching in the NFL, wherever have you, and be terrible. And then that's what your legacy is. Because, I mean, yeah, you got fired from the Raiders. You were 3-2 when you got fired from the Raiders after going 4-12, 7-9, 8-8. So obviously maybe things could have worked out differently for him at the Raiders. But you've been fired for a few times now. Why would I want to get fired again? Why would I want to go through it all again?
Why would I want to have to follow some sort of script, too? I feel like he enjoys being able to say whatever he wants about any situation and just, being Gruden.
Right.
But
I mean, not to say that Gruden's a dummy or anything, but at certain points, kind of like the big knock on Mike McCarthy is not adapting to today's NFL and not having an adaptable offensive game plan. Well, John Gruden's worse than that. That's just kind of, I mean, John Gruden may be more aggressive to media members, to players, and in game strategy than Mike McCoy would be. But it's almost you're hiring a guy for pure entertainment value, and this ain't the WWE.
The one thing I think, and this is all just guessing, but I think he could develop Cam better than anyone Cam's had so far in the NFL. But again, this is a whole team and organization thing.
Right.
I know we get wrapped up in Cam being the number one pick, hopeful franchise quarterback, and all that stuff is great. And, you want it to turn out to be that way. But this is a team with 53 players on it, 52 besides Cam, So we want Cam to have great coaching and all of that. But we've got issues on defense. we've got issues on offense outside of Cam. So it needs to be somebody that can help change all of that with their staff as opposed to just one area of the game, no matter how important that one area is.
I think there are so many experienced, better coaching candidates for this day and age in the NFL out there. And I think that I would still take chances on other guys that maybe don't have, a playoff victory as a head coach from 2007. Or actually, they lost that game. So I don't know when the last time he actually won a playoff game. So that would be 2002 was the last time that he won a playoff game. So in fact,
like early in 2002.
But in fact, when they went to the Super Bowl, that was the last time he won a playoff game.
So like January 2002.
Yeah, I don't remember if it's January or February back then. I just remember I was at my friend Boone's house. That's all. I
wasn't even born yet.
Yeah,
so in the womb.
At that point, he's only been to 2 playoffs since the Super Bowl, and he hasn't had a playoff victory since then. So again, I understand that these other guys maybe don't have the Super Bowl champion head coach ring to them. But we also have to understand what year we're in, what decade we're in. I mean, this is kind of an insane thing. I mean, like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie came out later that year, or earlier in that year. This Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie came out.
You're just ruining everybody's parade right now.
Just saying, I love
or
to.
Whoever in the chat it was that suggested that.
There you go. All right, coming up next, 615-737-1045. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the defense. We're also going to talk about where the Tennessee Titans are at in supporting Cam Ward. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Want to know about a place where European Auto Repair doesn't feel like European Auto Repair? Well, hey, it's Blaine Bishop tell you, the moment you walk into Eurofix, you'll notice Eurofix is not your typical greasy garage. Waiting rooms are really clean, comfortable, and inviting with snacks all over the places. Place and service areas are spotless. Why? Because Eurofix cares about everything from how you are treated to how your vehicle is treated. Every repair comes with a rock-solid 3-year, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty on all repairs and that Eurofix performs, and at below-dealer pricing. And you don't have to put up with the dealer pricing or get ghosted when you're waiting for a call back or even in the waiting room. Eurofix fixes everything European, plus rental cars are available with every appointment. Locations all over the state of Tennessee, Nashville, Franklin, Belmead, Murfreesboro, Mount Juliet, and more to come. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can check them out online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. I'm trying to book a special in-studio guest, but we'll have to see if he's actually going to come in or not.
Will you tell me
I guess I should have said this person so we can make sure to at least allude, have some mystery.
Gruden?
Not Gruden.
Oh, okay.
That'd be fun.
You tell me during the break?
Do you still have the drop of Gruden saying that is that even air safe?
What is it?
Where he said, I don't even know who Zach Lyons is or whatever.
I need to find that and bring it back. That was hilarious.
Okay, this defense from yesterday, it just seems like everything caught up to them. The missing, having 3 safeties go down with injury, having Marcus Harris go down with injury, having Jalen Armour-Davis in the game. And listen, I'm not the biggest Jalen Armour-Davis fan, but he played all right last week. And then he goes down with injury. You traded Roger McCreary, traded Jarvis Brownlee Jr., you traded for L'Jarius Sneed, and L'Jarius Sneed goes down with injury. Like, Darrell Baker Jr. is the last man standing. And then you have Khair Elam, Kamon Hall as your other 2 guys. And listen, I think that, Kamon Hall is such a weirdly fun player to watch because he is so fast that oftentimes he takes himself out of the play because he's too fast. And listen, he did make a great play, a hustle play where he covered like 75 yards to cause the fumble after blowing past the guy initially.
Yeah, that was a great play.
Yeah, I mean, great.
For him.
It was a great second half of the play, not the first half of the play, but great second half of the play. But I look at it and I go, what is Denard Wilson supposed to do? Because I listen, I understand you want Denard Wilson because a lot of people are going to harp on Arden Key's comments. And I thought that this show in particular talked really well about, like, what are you wanting? Like, what is really Arden Key wanting to do? And also, can we also remember that Arden Key has talked crap about every other coach that has ever coached for him? But, like, what are you wanting Denard Wilson to do? I don't know what Denard Wilson can do that's still not going to expose your secondary. And that's the issue, is that Denard Wilson is trying to essentially rearrange the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. And he's getting crucified by certain people for not adjusting the game plan. What is there to do? I mean, I don't understand what fans and some media members may expect Denard Wilson to do in these situations. Because I am telling you right now that Brian Flores is a better defensive coordinator than Denard Wilson. But expecting Denard Wilson to be Brian Flores, who has had almost 7 or 8 years experience as a defensive coordinator, to Denard Wilson's 2, to field the same kind of defense Brian Flores fields with healthy members of his defense, when you have literally guys that were claimed off waivers starting for you, undrafted free agents starting for you. Kendall Brooks, who I think is playing about as valiantly as he can play, having to play considerable amount of snaps playing for you. I think any defensive coordinator is going to struggle, especially a second-year defensive coordinator.
That's what I was going to say. Like, there's obviously some better defensive coordinators in the league than Denard, but who do you expect to do well with this situation? I mean, again, guys are playing hard. Kamon Hall is busting his ass to try to make plays. Like you saw, he got his ankles broke and chased down Dante Pettis to make that play yesterday. Incredible. But can you win a game with Kamon Hall playing 50 snaps? With
Kellen Moore finally realizing, we got Chris Olave. Let's, I mean, they put Chris Olave in situations where he's matched up with, in the slot, with Kamon Hall, and it's working. Like, and
they just started tacking downfield in the middle with Jawan Johnson. Like, it gets to a point, and, again, I do want to say, like,
I'm not advocating for Wilson to stay or anything, but I am saying, like, you got to understand what you're cooking with.
Yeah, and like I want to say too, give credit to some of these guys that they picked up on waivers too, because they're fighting. The effort and them trying to make a roster that's probably not going to be here, but trying to just make a roster next year. the fight is there. Who knows if they all will or not? But it's just like San Francisco, too. When our 3 safeties go down, you look at that offense, Brock Purdy, and the weapons he has. What do you expect Denard Wilson to be able to do? Like, we didn't get pressure all game. All right, you want him to send, Cedric or Cody or somebody off the edge? You want to send a blitz instead of pressure? Fine, do that. Is that going to help out that much? Probably not, because these guys can get open on our secondary pretty quickly. It's just like, is he coaching perfect games? No. You can always be better.
Yeah.
But you have to understand what he's working with, and I think admire what he's gotten out of this defense, all things considered, this season.
Right. Two things can be true. Denard Wilson isn't a top defensive coordinator in the league currently.
But he's better than what people think.
And he's better than what people think. Exactly. Like, that to me is, I think what you are seeing with Denard Wilson is what you see with a lot of defensive coordinators, that he understands what he's working with and who he has better than fans understand it. And he's trying his best not to get burned and beat badly. And yesterday, the Titans offense didn't really help them out. They got the play. They got the turnover that defense needed. They got the turnover the defense needed. And the offense walked away with 0 points. The offense scored only 6 points in the second half. Like, that obviously, and having multiple drives, less than 2 minutes on offense with an already gassed defense because they couldn't get off the field because they're not talented enough to get off the field. And I don't think it's really scheme issue. The scheme isn't the reason. Denard Wilson isn't the reason Kamon Hall went for the ankles on Audric Estime jumped over him. He isn't the reason Jalen Harrell missed a tackle in the backfield. He isn't the reason they missed multiple tackles in yesterday's game. That's on the players to execute the game. And if they get some missed tackles and turn those into actual tackles, we may be talking about a different game today. If the offense could put up points, we may be talking about a different game today. But at the same time, we have to kind of understand, the defense didn't play well enough, but I don't know how much of the blame you can actually put on Denard Wilson at this point in time with this particular roster.
Well, I think, too, one of the things is, like, we hear all the time, and it's true, all these guys, no matter who they are, they're in the National Football League, right? You are good at football overall if you're in the National Football League. Now, there's standards in the league for if you're good or not compared to other players, but you are a good football player. Really, you're an elite football player if you're in the league. That being said, there is still large talent discrepancies with some players and teams in the National Football League. I mean, a little over a month ago, we were watching these guys who were trying to cover Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Right.
And yesterday, Chris Olave, it's just clear. He is a much better football player than really anyone we have in the back half of our defense yesterday. And it showed. And Shuck had time to find him. So you feel bad for Denard because I think he could have stayed here longer. And I'm not, ruling him out coming back. You never know what would happen. But likely, probably, they're not going to keep him, whoever the new staff is. You feel for him because I feel like he could have been here for longer if he was able to keep more of his guys. And obviously some injuries and stuff happen. But it's just you can't really expect to do that much. You go into Jacksonville next week, the way they're playing on offense, I mean,
right.
I don't know, man. It's a tough situation for everybody involved, but mainly Denard Wilson.
Yeah, it gets to the point where it's like, I understand that when you look at, it's like the people who want to keep Mike McCoy. You don't keep Mike McCoy, you likely don't keep Denard Wilson. And I think that does suck because I do think that towards the mid-early to middle of this season, he was putting together and stringing together some good performances. And really over the last few weeks, most of this was dictated to be a talent issue. And I do think yesterday is more talent issue than coaching issue. And I think that's what kind of sucks for Denard Wilson is that it's kind of like when Brian Callahan was here. Everything is Brian Callahan's fault. Well, now everything is Denard Wilson's fault, despite that maybe some of these players, and then Brian Callahan's gone, and then everybody starts blaming, like, Cam Ward. There's always got to be a scapegoat, and usually the head guy's a scapegoat, which is part of the, I guess, responsibilities
Job
of defensive
description a little
coordinator.
bit.
Yeah, the job description. But at the same time, like, fans have to realize, I doubt even the best defensive coordinators wouldn't have allowed maybe 20-something points with this roster to the New Orleans Saints. And I know the New Orleans Saints lost 34, but we got to understand Denard Wilson's also stepped down from even the best defensive coordinators. So, yeah, of course he's going to allow 34 points. But at the same time, it's really the roster.
One more point I want to make on this, because we've talked so much about how with this offense improving over the past month or so, the line playing better and Cam not being touched as much during games due to the run game getting going and whatnot, and the line's just been playing better. Look at the defense. I mean, you shut down Kansas City last week. We were getting pressure all game. Minshew and Oladukin, how do you say it? Didn't have much time to breathe when they were out there, and the defense plays a lot better on paper, right? Because they only allow 9 points. Well, yesterday, the first half, we were getting after Shuck. Second half, different story. Couldn't get to the quarterback, had too much time to make plays. So for all those people out there who worry about quarterback or all these skill players, if you don't think that these games aren't won and lost in the trenches first and foremost, you're dead wrong. I'm telling you. And Ramon Foster could speak to it better than any of us, but the trenches are a huge deal. They haven't been as banged up for us on defense. Those guys have got to win their matchups more often for this defense to be successful.
And I do think when you talk about Jeff Simmons getting 10 sacks, double-digit sacks, well, Denard Wilson and them kind of came in with a plan to get him out on the edge and move him around the formation, and it's gotten the best. I mean, a lot of it also has to do with the player, right? But Denard Wilson has gotten the best version of Big Jeff, or the best version out of Big Jeff that we've seen, something Mike Vrabel never did. And it's because they kind of came in with a game plan to lose weight, get in shape. Let's put you out on the edge. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it got the best out of Big Jeff. And that's not, it's Big Jeff and Denard Wilson, but that's where coaching comes into play with the game plan that they had going into the season and talking and communicating and the leadership growth and all that kind of stuff. It's like Denard Wilson fostered a lot of leadership and got a lot of leadership out of Big Jeff that wasn't really Big Jeff never really had to do because of the veterans that were around him in the prior years and having Vrabel around.
See, and too, like, also on the field, Jeff had guys like Harold Landry, Danico Autry around him. You can't just double team Jeff every play with those guys around him. You look at the front right now, you can double team Jeff every play if you want to, and that's your best bet. And we've seen a lot of guys, a lot of teams this year, they got 3 guys with eyes on Jeff wherever he's lined up and looking to get hands on him in the pass game. Like, for him to have this season, it's a big credit to him, but like you
Huge
said,
credit
to Denard as well for just helping him. Like, they're doing whatever they can to get him going.
To put him in position to succeed, which, again, goes to how the adjustment stuff is. And let's also not forget, Denard Wilson was a little bit of a Rand Carthon hire, if you guys remember correctly. A little bit of a Rand Carthon hire. All right, coming up next, maybe we'll have a guest, maybe we won't. We'll see. If not, we're going to talk about the Tennessee Titans. Are they starting to build, or how far away are they from building a good support system for Cam Ward? This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
There are a lot of things Americans split 50-50 on. Politics, working from home versus the office, coffee versus tea, burger versus hot dogs. No, that's not a competition. But there's one thing we all agree on. Taking your car in for repairs can be complicated. Your repair is only as good as the person under the hood. And most of the problems in fixing your vehicle is the knowledge and in the issues of understanding what is actually really going on under the hood and trying to see if they're ripping you off. And a lot of techs are not properly trained. So they end up guessing what to do, and that causes delays in getting your vehicle back and repeat visits for the same issue. For around a quarter of a century, Eurofix has done things differently. Every visit starts with a free 15-minute no-rinse inspection, so you know what's going on before you start the work. And at Eurofix, they pay their technicians more than any other company does to attract the best and the brightest talent. And Eurofix still fixes European vehicles at below dealer pricing with a 3-year, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty on all work at Eurofix that they perform. And rental cars are available with all locations. Located all over the place, family run with 5 locations. And all you have to do is just give them a call and book now at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. Blaine's on a little bit of holiday vacation. And guess what? We got some phone calls. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Gorilla. Gorilla, you're on with Cover 2.
What's going on, fellas? What's going on, man?
What's up?
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
Hey, check this out. I'm going to give you what you've been asking me for, man. You asked me a couple times. I kind of sidestepped the question. Yeah, I will apologize to Van Jefferson.
Oh. We did
I
it.
will, man. He got a little dog in him, man. He got some dog in him.
Yeah.
But what I will say, guys, is that it's almost impossible to judge Denard based on the talent that we have. And I think that the fan base kind of realizes that and understands that. I think that the biggest excitement is Cam, the rookies, and Jeff, and the possibility of what we can get. I mean, you know what we can bring in. Without a edge rush, pretty much any secondary is going to look horrible. You know, and then you know, without a true number one receiver, I mean, your offense is going to sputter at certain points of a game. So I think you guys are hitting the spot on. I'm just saying that I totally agree with everything you guys are saying. I'll hang up and listen, man. You guys have a wonderful holiday, man.
You have a good Happy New Year to you as well, Gorilla.
Maybe.
And listen, it takes a big man to come on the air and say, hey, I was wrong. Van Jefferson's got some dog in him.
I think, you know, if anyone thought the holiday spirit had died, it is alive and well.
Yep.
As
That's
we just
it.
saw.
That's There you go. Miracles do exist.
And, you know, Van's my guy, Ravenwood High School, shout out. But it felt, it was tough to see him go down yesterday and probably his last game of the season.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I think we're all in agreement, you, me, and Blaine. We would like to see him back because of what he provides to the team. Not necessarily in a big role or anything. You don't necessarily want him to be the wide receiver 1 or 2, but he gives you something out there that's consistent. And I thought he pieced together a decent little season as it progressed.
Yeah, and I think to his larger point, we talked about last night, look at the 2024 draft class as well. Like when you start looking at the 2024 draft class of J.C. Latham, Tavondre Sweat, Cedric Gray, James Williams, Jalen Harrell, I mean, that's 5 out of 7 people that are on this team contributing in some form or fashion as pretty much starters right now. Like Jalen Harrell and James Williams are starters on special teams, and that matters. Like having those guys matters, and they've also role-played and contributed on defense. I mean, Jalen Harrell has had at least a half a sack over the last 4 or 5 games.
James
I said his name almost every week.
Tape. James Williams was pretty good filling in for Cedric last week, I thought.
And then you take that and put it with the 2025 draft class of Cam Ward, Kevin Winston, Chimere DK, Gunnar Helm, Elikai Manor, and Marcus Harris, who have all shown promise as potential starters. That's a good foundation. We still got to see what Femi Oladejo is. We don't know what Jackson Slater and Khalil Mullins are yet. But that's a good foundation to draft class back-to-back. Because if you go back to 2020, only one player from 2020 to 2022, 3 draft classes, 23 players, 3 draft classes. Only one is still on the Tennessee Titans, and that's Chig Okonkwo. Only 9 are starters elsewhere. Out of the other 22 besides Chig, only 9 are starters elsewhere. Only 10 entirely are on active rosters in some form or fashion. Like, at the same time, we have to understand, yes, Brian Callahan and this coaching staff, they were bad. Yes, Rain Carthon flunked free agency. Yes, Mike Bergonzi probably could have done a little bit better in free agency, if we're all being a little honest here. But at the same time, we have to understand when you miss on pretty much 22 players for your team, that's 11 starters on offense and 11 starters on defense, if you just wanted to put it that way. A whole team, almost. You know what I'm saying? A whole team of starters have contributed very little to the 2025 Titans. and only Chig is the only one. So, like, at the same time, we have to understand, J-Rob just kind of stunk. And we knew that Cam Ward was coming into a bad situation. We know that Denard Wilson, his staff, hasn't had a great situation. Denard Wilson's situation on his roster is deteriorated so quickly, it's like someone poured a vat of acid on it. Like, I mean, it's incredible the amount of attrition that Denard Wilson has seen. But a lot of this is the ramifications of John Robinson.
I agree. And, it's going to be fun. I know we're not there yet, but this next offseason, see what Borgonzi and company can cook up in the draft. Also, with all the cap space, I mean, we have had a lot of free agency misses, traditionally over the years. It would be nice to see a couple hits in that spot.
Like Jihad Ward probably and Danico Autry are like two of the best free agent signings like of the last 3 to 5 seasons. I mean, obviously Delaney Walker would trump them, but that was a long time ago at this point.
Well, and see, I think people think and I get it, people think you got to have some superstar free agent signing that works out for it to be like a successful signing. Like if we brought, I don't know, if we got Patrick Mahomes in free agency and brought him here and he won an MVP, that's successful. He had a great season. It doesn't, like a Danico Autry situation, that is great.
Yeah.
That is great. You need guys that can come in alongside these rookies and play and be starters or contribute a good bit and help this team turn things around, which I think they have the ability to do this offseason. Who knows how it'll look, but you've got the opportunity at least.
Let's go to Mark in Clarksville. 615-737-1045 is number. Mark, you're on with Blaine, or just Zach, I guess. Cover 2.
Good afternoon, guys. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
I just wanted to agree. Denard Wilson has done an outstanding job with the talent he's given, the injuries they're going through. But don't forget, yesterday's game, his defense wasn't even responsible for 34 points. They were gifted 7 points from a strip sack and had to endure terrible field position from offensive incompetence in the fourth quarter. So they've done a great job. But I got a question for you regarding the offense. They always seem to do better in the first half and then run out of gas in the second half. Do you think it's because of scripted plays that they're able to execute well early on, or a lack of adjustment as the game goes on? I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Mark, I think I would put it as getting a little outside of yourself.
Yeah.
I think not staying true to what brought you to the dance, not staying true to what this team has shown it is. And I know that everybody wants a pass-happy, modern offense with the number 1 overall pick, slinging it all over the yard. But at the same time, that's not what's best for this team. What's best for this team is to run the football. And I think sometimes this team gets away from what it does best, and that is run the football. And that's how I would put it. Like, they get outside of themselves. They kind of almost psych themselves out of staying true to who they are. And that's kind of where I go back to coaching, is that I feel like this team, and we have even heard them kind of admit it, well, we'd like to run the ball more. We just feel that we can't run the ball because the game's out of hand. When in most times the game has never been really, truly out of hand outside of maybe 3 or 4 of them. And even then, those got out of hand in the fourth quarter when you have chosen already to abandon the run.
Yeah, and I think, there is something to be said, depending on how games go. A lot of times teams can find themselves, and it's happened to the Titans a few times in that middle 8 we always talk about, losing the time of possession battle. So you think about it in a game, if, take the Saints, they've got the last drive on the field. You go into halftime, and then the Saints start with the football or whatever it may be. You could have, 30 to 45 minutes of real time without your offense on the field.
Right.
And that does more to players than I think people realize, because you're getting a groove out there, you're getting a rhythm, for players, play callers, whatever it may be. When you have to sit there and wait for a long time, which can happen, I'm not saying it's happened every game, but I think it can affect, how you view it the second half in a game. Kind of like you said, maybe getting outside of yourselves, or maybe, feeling the ebbs and flows of the game and thinking you got to do something that, is a little different from what's been giving you success.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the support system around Cam Ward, because I do think there's this idea that Cam Ward's support system is utter crap. And I do think in certain situations it is, but in certain situations they may be league average or a little bit better.
I was going to say, we're talking about players or like
yeah,
his,
well, it's a little bit of everything.
Personal life.
So Ted Wynn, I brought this up a couple of times on the show, but Ted Wynn of The Athletic, who has covered, he's a film study, X's and O's, covered the Raiders for a long time, very well respected in the media community, talks about the first time head coaches this cycle, like Liam Cohen. He highlights Liam Cohen, and he highlights kind of this, and I think it's really a smart way to look at the production and support system for young quarterbacks. He uses Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's a psychological theory proposing that humans have 5 levels of needs to reach their full potential. And he'd argue that quarterbacks also have a 5-level hierarchy of needs, starting at the base level. If you're looking at a 5-level pyramid, starting at the base level, great play caller. And I think we can all safely say that they don't have level 1 of the pyramid.
It's gotten better, but yes.
It's gotten better, but we're not talking, like, he ain't no Liam Cohen. And I can't believe I'm even saying that about Liam Cohen, because I crapped all over Liam Cohen for the longest time. But he's not even Liam Cohen right now. And part of being a great play caller is knowing what you got and knowing your identity and staying true to that identity even in the tough times. Because identity is what you fall back on. Culture is what you fall back on when the game starts getting away from you a little bit. And for everything that Liam Cohen, you can make fun of the Duval, you can make fun of a lot.
I did.
He got the best out of Will Levis that anybody has gotten out of Will Levis, and it still wasn't that great. But he got the best out of Will Levis at Kentucky, got the best out of Baker Mayfield, because, I mean, we've seen Baker Mayfield and that entire offense trail off under Josh Grizzard. And you're seeing him get the best out of Trevor Lawrence, who nobody has been able to get the level of production that he's gotten out of Trevor Lawrence for right now. And part of that is because he's not only just a pretty good play caller, good schemer, but he's also has a good understanding of who he has, what he needs, and what he needs to do with it. And I think that when you look at how the Tennessee Titans have operated over the last 2 years, or even the last 4 or 5 years under Mike Vrabel since Art Smith has left, they've lacked that. They've lacked that knowledge, that instinct. So I would say that level 1, Tennessee Titans don't have currently. Level 2 is pass protection. And I would have to say, I know it wasn't, full tilt, they didn't pitch a shutout yesterday, but there's a lot of pressures, and PFF's charting data yesterday put 22 pressures on Cam Ward that he created himself. Some of that's getting outside the pocket, moving the pocket. But I would say that if you look at what the offensive line did yesterday, that was good enough to win the game, and that was good enough to dominate the game if the other parts of the offense had worked correctly. Now, I understand fumble. I would definitely put on J.C. Latham and all that kind of situation. Cam Ward also needs to hold the ball, sense a little bit as well. But J.C. Latham was the first domino to fall.
Yes.
But I don't think the pass protection is big of an issue as it was in the first 4 or 5 weeks. I definitely think that since the firing of Bill Callahan, for whatever reason, the pass protection has looked good. And Kevin Zeitler has looked like he forgot that he was supposed to be on a beach somewhere, because I'll have to say, as much as I've ragged on Kevin Zeitler and as much as I've ragged on Dan Moore, both of them have been playing pretty exceptionally well compared to what they were at the beginning. And this has been one of the better offensive lines, probably top 12 since coming out of the bye week. So this is trending in the right direction, and maybe pass protection isn't a big of an issue. Now, you got parts you got to replace, but it's not as big of an issue as we thought it would be.
Exactly. And again, why do you think the offensive production is going up? That it starts right there.
It starts right there. So don't have a great play caller, but they do have pretty good pass protection. Running game is level 3. So we've gone from play caller to pass protection, now to running game. And I'm going to say it before, I'll say it again. I know people disagree with me. Tony Pollard's a lot better than what everybody wants to give him credit for. And maybe that's a small vocal minority, still not wanting to give him credit. We had someone in the Titans League Company Countdown chat say that he's not a 3-down running back, and I'm like, are you guys even watching the same game I am? Like, sometimes I'm just like, what game are you guys watching?
Can I pull a Blaine on you real quick?
Go ahead.
You told me you wanted Jeremiah Love at the start of the show.
I do want Jeremiah Love at the start of the show, but just because your running game is good right now doesn't mean your running game can't be better.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Tony has been very good, and Tajay, I still think, like, I feel like we have never figured out how to really use Tajay to his fullest capabilities. Honestly, his rookie year was the best that it got up to this point, probably. But I think that we need a coach that can figure out how to use him because he is such a weapon for us to have.
Yeah. And I think that when you go back and look at the offensive line, I know we talked about pass protection, but the run blocking was way, way worse than what it has been lately because the yards before contact, basically, people were in the backfield even before Tony Pollard got the ball. Like, the run blocking was atrocious.
And they've turned out a lot more explosive runs as well.
And now I mean, like, he is 20-plus runs. I counted today. He was tied for 11th, if I'm not mistaken, in the NFL among all running backs. I mean, I don't know. Sounds pretty good to me. So I do think Cam Ward has at least the foundations for next year to have a good run game to be able to support him. Here's the one that I have the biggest issue with. Dependable receivers. That is the level 4. And I don't think the issue, now listen, yesterday the issue was separation. The Saints had a really great game plan to smother the receivers and the pass catchers, but I don't think separation by and large is an issue because they have the 9th most separation as a collective unit in the NFL. 9th highest. The issue has been that almost everybody besides Gunnar Helm has not been dependable receivers. They all have negative catch rates over expected.
I was going to say, at catching the football.
Yeah, catching the football. Yep. They are not catching the football as much as they are expected to be NFL wide receivers and NFL pass catching unit. There's a lot of yards lost from Cam Ward in that. And the other thing is, they're not dependable to get you yards after catch. They are dead last in yards after catch over expected. Like,
it's really weird to me, honestly.
Yeah. And listen, Chig and Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears have been really good after the catch. Everybody else, Chimere Dike, oftentimes falling down or just sliding to catch the ball inexplicably. Alec Iamander is getting pushed out of bounds or tackled right there. Gunnar Helm has been all right, but they don't have yards after the catch. So, like, when I look at these games, they've been schemed open. They've gotten, a tight window is less than when a defender and when the ball arrives is like less than a yard within the pass catcher. They've been averaging 4.1 yards of separation on the entire season. So they are getting open, but they can't be depended upon or relied upon to actually catch it. Like, that to me has been one of the bigger issues, and that's why it doesn't say fast receivers. It doesn't say speedy receivers. It doesn't say athletic receivers. It doesn't say receivers that take the tops off the defense. Dependable receivers is what you want. And that right there is the best case for a Carnell Tate because he has he's never dropped the ball. And now I say that he'll drop one against Miami, but he's never dropped the ball for Ohio State this year.
Yeah, well, and of course
it'll
happen at some point in the NFL too, no matter what team he's on. Just happens. But yeah, I mean, you want to be optimistic and chalk a lot of that up to them being rookies, and still growing and learning the game and getting a feel for everything in the National Football League. Some of this contested catch stuff, I mean, it's not necessarily like an effort thing or a want-to. It's just concentration. That's all it is, and it's much easier said than done in the National Football League.
Keeping your head turned around.
But yeah, I've been a little disappointed with Ellick over the season in that regard. Now, he had a nice catch yesterday in traffic, which was impressive, and I think he's that type of player. Because when you talk about like our lack of yards after the catch, I look at Ellick and Gunnar. That's not their thing. They aren't that type of. They're guys who you expect to be able to find ways to get open and make tough catches. Guys like Chig though, and Chim, and Calvin.
You expect Chim to be able to pull away from some of these tackles that he's not pulling away from.
You expect some of these plays to turn into like 20-yard pickups as opposed to like 10 or 12, right? With these guys. So that's more disappointing to me, the lack of run after catch as opposed to the, catch rate, I guess, when covered. Now you want both to change, obviously, but that run after catch, we got to be able to make some stuff happen.
So to me, it's like everybody always focuses on speed and this and that. It's like you need to focus on dependability. I don't think speed and athleticism is necessarily an issue for this team. It is dependability when the ball's coming your way. Are you technically sound with how you're going to catch the ball, how you're looking for the ball? Are you getting your head around fast enough? Are you running crisp routes? Are you running the right routes? Are you in the right spot? And when the ball's there, are you going to make a play for your quarterback when he needs you to? And sometimes they have. I mean, Mason, we saw like 3 or 4 yesterday, right? Mason Kinsey made an excellent play on a dot. But how many times have we seen that dot dropped? Like, and I can't believe Mason Kinsey giving him props, but I mean, he deserves
it for yesterday.
And I think the same thing with like Van Jefferson and Chimere DK. That likely would have been a touchdown had he not been dragged to the ground. And I think that's why he got dragged to the ground. And that changes the stat line if you're big into stat lines, and all that kind of stuff for Cam Ward. That would have been a huge 50-yard gain and another touchdown for him, which likely puts him at 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. But he doesn't get that because who was that defensive back? Can't remember. Number 21. What's funny is that they said it was 41, and they put up Alvin Kamara as the guy who got the defensive pass interference on the broadcast. So
he's just sitting there like at home or wherever he was, just like, what'd I do?
So for me, it's like you have to make sure that you get guys that are dependable and reliable to be in the spot and to do their job. And that includes also catching the ball and breaking some tackles.
And my biggest thing for receivers, and might be biased because it was kind of like my play style, but like my biggest thing with receivers is route running and knowing how to get open.
Yeah.
I think those are the best receivers you will find. I mean, you can look at guys like Calvin Austin or Julio Jones and be like, well, look at those dudes. They're athletic freaks, and they're, top 5 receivers of all time, top 10, whatever. They also know how to get open.
Yeah.
Right? Ellick is an athletic freak, in my opinion. Not necessarily from a speed standpoint,
but he's a 4.4 guy, 4.44 guy.
And vertical ability.
And he's almost 6'2", 200-something pounds.
Where does the biggest area for him to grow in? It's the route running, knowing how to get open. Obviously, he's had some catch issues as well, but those are the receivers that I would like to see. Those are the receivers that can win you games.
Like, I'm a big Mekhi Lemon guy. He may walk away being my wide receiver 1 by the end of this draft process and film review. I'm a big Mekhi Lemon guy.
When you talk about how, the scheme is a big reason for these guys getting open, and it kind of is around the league. Obviously, you got all the talent with some of these, elite players. You're able to scheme guys open more from a receiver standpoint when they have the route running ability to get open.
Right.
We have seen plenty of burners not have great careers because everybody can run to a degree, and technique will always trump athleticism in the NFL. The guys that win and the guys that get schemed open are able to do great things, like a JSN this year, like Devontae Adams over the past 5 years. It is the route running every single time.
Every single time. So when you start looking at basically the self-actualization of Cam Ward, like how is he going to reach his potential? Right now, what you need that's really you don't have currently right now, play caller, dependable wide receivers. And when you have those two things, I think we'll see Cam Ward. And that's why this team may not be as far away from being a very competitive team for a full 18 weeks, 17 games. Maybe not playoff team, but a fully competitive team. Kind of like what we've seen over these last few weeks for the most part, because we're still talking about just 2 quarters out of 16 quarters of bad football, of regression. That's why I don't think this team's that far away. All right, coming up next, we're going to wrap up our talk of the Tennessee Titans. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. 3HL's coming up next. It's going to be Ross is going to stay with you guys, guiding you through all the way to 6 p.m., but then it's going to be Don and Stoney Keeley. I'm so interested to see how this dynamic works.
I'm excited.
They've been in the prod room. This is probably the most that Don has worked on a 3HL show in a while. But they've been in the prod room for about the last hour. So it's going to be a good show. They're cooking some stuff up. Who you got as guests?
We have Scott Ramsey of the Nashville Sports Council and the Music City Bowl coming on, and then we got Chris Lowe in the 5 o'clock hour coming on.
There you go.
So
there you go. That's going to be a good show. I'm so interested to see how the dynamic works.
Got some good pairings this week on 3HL Wednesday. We'll have Lucas and Slay.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Me and you on cover 2. Maybe we can get Blaine to zoom in from wherever he's at. Doubt it, but maybe.
He's probably he doesn't listen. If
I know he's not watching.
He's not watching. He's not listening. Yeah, because he makes fun of me though all the time when I'm like in the chat when I'm on vacation. I just jump in a little bit. But listen, I would say that maybe if we can get him, we can get him. But yeah, I mean Stoney and Don up next. That's gonna be awesome.
Man, I got to be ready. I feel like they're going to keep me on my toes back here.
Yeah, because you know Stoney's got a song.
I know he's got an intro.
Yeah.
He won't ask for it himself, though.
Yeah, you just got to
play it for him.
But. Okay, so final thoughts. Let's talk about Cam Ward just real quick. Final thoughts on Cam Ward's game. I think there was a lot of good that you saw in the game. And I think what we have kind of not pointed out is that I feel like he has a better command of the offense at the line coming out of the snap and coming out of the huddle.
They've had a lot less like procedural penalties and whatnot and issues.
Only 4 penalties yesterday, which it really seemed like there was way more penalties called yesterday than just 4 on the Tennessee Titans.
But yeah, if I had to give him a letter grade, I'd probably say B+ yesterday or B.
Yeah.
Still things to clean up, like we've said during the show, but overall I thought it was a pretty solid performance from him.
Yeah, and I think, when you're talking about looking at the quarterback position in a vacuum, I felt like there was a time where he took a step back in the game, but I do think that overall you are looking at a quarterback that, at one point Stoney's been a little skeptical of saying this about Cam Ward. Maybe he'll bring it up, but at one point he looked at me, it was the one where his knee was down, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But he looked at me off that plane and goes, this is the dude. This is the guy.
Oh, yeah.
And it took a while for him to come around on that. But, this is the guy. And that's where I think I'm at with Cam Ward as well. I've been kind of on that train anyway. But, when you're talking about looking at next year or using revisionist history to say, well, should they have traded back in last year and all this kind of stuff? No. If you have conviction that he is the guy, you always draft the guy, and the Tennessee Titans did that, and I think they're going to be rewarded as long as they can keep on going forward and still build around him properly.
Please.
All right.
Lord.
That will do it with us. We'll see you guys tomorrow. 3HL's up next. Don Davenport and Stoney Keeley and Ross Johnston behind the glass will be there for that. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.